When you see ADAMA, you see unbridled Black excellence. Whether on the African continent, throughout the diaspora, or in your indigenous residence, it represents our unrivaled global presence. Whether prologue, present, or prescient, it's a tribute to the days of the troubadours and chevaliers, to the griots heaven sent. It raised protest and said none rest until we put down local and global unrest. To those who refuse to be reticent, to those who refuse to be silenced, it's a love letter to Black love, for warning to white violence. It's years of tears. It's eons of joy. At ADAMA, you will see yourself, your elders, your peers, men and women, ladies and gentlemen, children, girls and boys. It's a place you can explore, digest, and enjoy in a minute or a week, in a year or an hour. And what makes it unique is that it's complete and completely ours. It's a seed that blossomed and bloomed into a beautiful rainflower. It's an acorn buried beneath a radiant rain shower that grew into a tree. That voice you hear in your ear on the breeze says, when you see ADAMA, you see our unbridled elegance, you see our undeniable presence, you see our joy, our pain, you see our struggle, our reign. When you see ADAMA, you see unbridled Black excellence. And my card doesn't talk.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. This is kind of loud. How is everybody doing today? Yay! Perfect. Thank you for being in attendance with us today. This is our 60th Arts Salon. Thank you, everyone, this is amazing. 60 already. So the ADAMA Arts Salon is a series of conversations. We feature contemporary artists, curators, scholars, and more from across the African diaspora. We host the Arts Salon series here at Pittsburgh's Yards, as well as exhibitions and other creative projects. We'd like to inform everyone of ADAMA's current exhibition that's here on view. Some of you already took part in it this morning. It's called Lightwork, and it's on view until April 5th. And we want to make sure that you're keeping up with us. So for those of you who have not, please follow us on ADAMA_ATL. So the exhibition that we currently have on view is Curtis Patterson, Mr. Patterson, and Hassani Salehi. They explore the profound ways in which Curtis Patterson and Hassani illuminate the breadth of the African diaspora art. Patterson's three-dimensional sculptures masterfully balance light and shadow, revealing the depth and complexity of form. Salehi's vibrant use of color and abstraction expands and illuminates the conceptual frames that shape Black identity, offering new perspectives and dialogues. So together their works embody the dynamic and illuminating power of light work. So now it's my pleasure to introduce who we will have here with us today. We are moderator Clarke Brown. Clarke, you want to come up with us? And Honey Pierre for today's conversation. Thank you, ladies. So Clarke Brown is the Special Projects Curator at the Clarke Atlanta University Art Museum, where she's recently curated 2 Rediscovery focusing on pieces from the museum's permanent collection and a co-created project with Jamele Wright Sr. entitled Innervisions, a conversation between pioneering and contemporary art of Black abstraction. Prior to this position, she was the Curatorial Fellow for the Winifred and Kevin P. Reilly Initiative for Underrepresented Artists at the Louisiana State University at Museum of Art in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Clarke earned an MA, and a BA in history from Spelman College. So welcome. Honey Pierre, Cassandra Hickey, known as Honey Pierre, as an Atlanta-based fiber artist with 3 years of experience in this medium and a total of 6 years of experience in painting. She hails from Cleveland, Ohio, and made the transition to Atlanta, Georgia in 2018. Her journey there has been marked by mentorship, mastery, and significant growth as a fiber artist. Cassandra has an impressive exhibition record, having participated in 30 group exhibitions, held 2 successful solo exhibitions, and contributed installations to offices and public spaces. So welcome. And with that, I'll turn it over to you ladies.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all so much for this invitation to come and moderate this conversation. It's been a pleasure being in the space and witnessing the art that's here, but also meeting you, Honey, and being able to talk about your journey. So I'm glad to be able to have this conversation with you.
I know, thank you.
So, my first question, just kind of tell us about your artistic journey and what I'm curious to know what drew you to fiber arts and also this this punch needle technique.
So my journey actually started while I was in the military. During that time, like the end of my, I wouldn't call it like, I was going to call it a sentence because it felt like jail sometimes. But the end of my term, I started having like depression. You know, it's normal while you're serving. A lot of my fellow battle buddies, like we all would talk about it amongst ourselves. And art was one of those escapes for me. And during that time, I was trying to figure out what did I want to do outside of the Army when it's time for me to actually leave. Because it's a whole process to transition out. You literally got 6 months to a year to get your paperwork together, find your next job, and get out. So for me, I was like, all right, art seems like the wave. I was getting tattooed a lot at the moment. As you can see, I'm a collector. But I was like, okay, I like this industry. Let me try it out. So I went back to Cleveland, got a tattoo apprenticeship at, this random shop in the hood that I used to hang out at before I did military. And they took me in. They welcomed me. They taught me about anatomy, how the body moves, how to draw, just like all the basics. And I stayed in Cleveland for a year. And then I was like, yeah, this isn't really my vibe anymore. I need to go somewhere else and learn some more. Because even though Cleveland, I would not, talk down on my city, but at the time, we weren't really growing in the gallery scene. The institution scene on point. We all know that. But I was like, I want to have community. I want to learn. Since I'm not in school for this right now, I want to learn from my people first, like hands-on. So from there, I was like, I got to pick 3 cities. It was either New York, LA, or Atlanta. And I'm happy I picked Atlanta because a pandemic happened. And then the world shut down. We all saw. And when I came down here, I just felt the community and I learned a lot just by going to different exhibits, meeting artists, meeting professors, curators, meeting like even now my mentor. And from there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this serious. Started doing public art, assisting people on murals. And during the pandemic, we all got to sit down during the lockdown. And I don't know, I think it was like God talking to me, but I just randomly YouTube one day how to make rugs. I know it's like not what I call my artwork, but punch needle popped up and I was like, this is cool. I like this a lot. And I just started doing it.
So, like you said, you did not, have a formal training or go to school, but you picked a place to learn and you had some artists that you learned from. So, who were some of those people that you look up to that were mentors that kind of helped you develop your skill?
Far as just learning about storytelling and just like building a legacy, I'll have to say my mentor, Kevin Williams. He actually became my formal mentor during my Mint Leap Year residency a couple years ago. And when we linked up, that's when I started really like getting serious. Like I was serious before, but like when we gathered together and started having these meetings and doing studio visits, he really inspired me to go harder and like take time to actually invest in yourself and your craft and want to expand your ideas and even thinking bigger. I got to learn from my peers like Adana, like we're studio mates. I learn from Adana every day. Just like color pairing, color theory with different fabrics, like composition and how to make it flow because it's not like a painting, because paintings you can figure it out, you do little tricks here and there to like illuminate stuff. But with textile, the flaw is there, and you gotta make it work or, improve. Jamele, Fahamu, there's so many artists I've learned the last few years of just like being around them and just talking or going to their studios. These are my teachers. It's my community.
And so being able to look at your work, and it's so vibrant and it really grabs your attention. What are some of the themes and narratives that you want viewers to take from your work, but also seeing this, this recurring blue that you use as the skin tone for your figures, and just wondering why that specific pigment.
So 2 reasons for the blue. One being that Joann's does not have a good selection of yarn. If you ever shopped like yarn at Joann's, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's not great. RIP to Joann's, by the way. I'm gonna miss that girl. But a second reason is because I learned by studying with this unfortunate bearing of not having different shades of brown to shop from. I had to outsource and look at what people who I look up to in the art industry do, like Amy Sherrill. She does a grayscale. Kerry James Marshall, he does all different types of black scale. Bisa Butler, she does all scales. So I just started taking from them and saying, you know what? I could do my own storytelling about us using different shades of blue. Because in the yarn world, I don't know why, but we have 100 shades of blue for some reason. I enjoy it now, but yeah, I wish it was the other way around.
So within that work, what are things that you want us when we see your work to take away from it?
I want everybody to take away comfort. I want ease, because it's our storytelling. A lot of my work is about leisure. It's about familiarity. It's about just feeling in that moment. A lot of my work is references of my own family, my friends, my loved ones, sometimes who I'm dating, but it's to feel comfortable in the space with the work, because it is textile, and we touch textiles every day with the clothing we wear, so it's like a blanket of comfort every time I want you to feel my work and take away from it. And even the stories from it, it's about us just living our everyday lives, being at the park, laying on the couch, relaxing, getting rest that you don't deserve, but it is needed, a necessity. Yeah. So that's the type of stuff I like to take away with my art.
See. So with that, can you walk us through your process of creating from, when you go to the fabric store and you pick out your colors to then, actually beginning your process?
So I have a weird process. Okay. So I like to write a lot. If you look at my sketchbook, it's mostly me writing. I'll draw what I want the piece to be framed in, or how I want the finished product, but it's really a lot of me writing, how I want this piece to feel. What is the story? What kind of emotion am I going to be really capturing? And then I think about, who is this muse? Because I only use people I know. And then sometimes I'll outsource and get a model once in a while if I really feel it in my spirit to do it. But I like to use the people I know every day for this process. Then we do a reference shoot. And then I'm okay, this is the shot. And then I go to Joann's, and I go, y'all gonna miss this store a lot. I go there and I start doing my color palette and seeing what is this sweater? What does it feel? What kind of yarn? Is it wool? Is it satin? Is it silk? Is it acrylic? Is it glitter? What am I gonna use for that? Am I gonna do my own pattern within the clothing? Because sometimes I do floral, sometimes I do stripes, who knows? And then I stretch the fabric on the frame and put the subject on there, start punch needling for who knows how long. And it might be months or a week or so for the piece, depending on the size. And then I start painting the backgrounds to go with it to create the scene. And that's the long process.
Okay, so you mentioned before that you started out doing some public art and murals. So can you kind of talk about that experience and kind of which projects have resonated with you the most? And I don't know, have you fully transitioned from that to, you know, just doing singular pieces or large bodies of work?
So with public art, I actually got into it because people were posting on their Instagram stories like, hey, I need a mural assistant. I need them for like 2 to 3 days. This is the pay, whatever. And as an emerging artist, when there's money involved, and you just starting out, you better jump in. And that's what I was doing. And plus, like, you're learning from people who are so experienced, who have been doing this. So it's like, why not? You know, so I started doing that back in like 2019. The one mural that stood out to me was when I worked with Eugene Bird. He did it for the Beltline, and it was his daughter as one of the subjects and another man, and both of their faces were in the water. And like halfway, you could just see the bridge of their nose and their eyes. And when we're working on the piece, I asked him, I was like, what is this about? Like truly, because he takes his time with like his narratives with a lot of his public art now that he is doing more of. And he was just like, some days I just feel like we're drowning. I was like, damn, I feel you. So from that, even with like the public art, I was like, that's real. You know, we don't see too many pieces like that. And it inspired me. And I'm still like doing public art. I'm actually about to do a mural for South Fulton for the Old National area. It'll be their first one. And during our meetings for the last like 3 weeks of just going through like what's the concept, what are we going to be doing, they wanted pride in their community and like what is happening in their area and what they want it to be. And I don't think I'll ever leave public art. It's a different arena, you know, for everybody to experience. Because yeah, my pieces are in this museum or it's going to be in this gallery, but this is going to live forever. Well, as long as they want on that wall forever. But you know, it's like there for a long time.
So as an emerging artist, what challenges have you faced?
It's a lot, especially when you're not like formally trained in school, because it's like you're just learning every day, literally. My biggest challenge that I had to overcome was the networking aspect. And not even like, well, trying to get an opportunity, let me go here and meet all these people. It's like networking in your community and actually being intentional and keeping up these relationships and building them and not just trying to like get opportunities. I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I know such and such, and I like to invite them to come to my house for dinner. Or, you know what? Let's go gallery hopping. I haven't been to any shows. Do you want to come with me? And actually learning how to do that over the last few years, honestly, I feel like has really helped me grow way more because it's more organic. You know, another thing is just like the money thing. As an emerging artist, you're not going to make money for right away. And it's not going to be fast money neither. It's a slow burn until you actually get in that arena of like, I'm getting more collectors. I got more installations coming in, public art, you know, doing prints or just figuring out like what your stride is. And then the last thing, overcoming and learning as an emerging artist is really just having fun and being yourself. I think that's something that a lot of us miss in the process. And I'm happy I learned that ahead of time. And even now, it's just like being yourself will get you in the rooms way faster than, you know, trying to be somebody else or act a certain way or anything.
So in this current social and political climate that we're in, what do you see artists facing, and what do you see as an artist things that you think our community needs to see right now?
One thing I think we're witnessing, like present day, and I talked about this with a couple of my colleagues a few weeks ago, is the end of the gold rush. We're experiencing it right now. Because all these institutions, most of them, and like galleries, certain galleries, you know, collectors, all of them, during like 2020, a lot of them were doing that cash grab of let me come in and do the support the community, public art for everybody, grants for everybody. We all got them. I did. Did you? PPP. And it was a great time, but it was a cash grab. It was the gold rush for Black artists, and we all saw it. And it was cool because we all got the bread right away. You know, it was nice, you know. But now that everything's being taken away, we're all seeing like they don't really support us. And it's showing real hard with the DEI incentives, and I hate it. Like, I had a residency with Mocha Cleveland. Not talking bad on them or nothing, but they had one cohort. I was part of that cohort where they wanted to invest in Black and brown artists from Cleveland or in Cleveland. They did not do another one after that. They said, yeah, no more, we're good. And they said, bye. And that hurt my heart because it's like, we were never in this institution to begin with. And because people on your board and the community noticed that we weren't being represented in these spaces, you felt pressured to allow us to be in this space. And for whatever reason, y'all decided not to have us back in here again. Because we were telling our stories loud, bold, and these exhibits were great from young artists. And like I said, that's what's happening right now. I don't like it. I do think that we need to invest in our spaces that we have currently, like Clarke. You guys have amazing exhibits. I will be visiting. Spelman, great exhibits. And I think we need to, ADAMA, great exhibits in our own spaces, and we need to be contributing, donating. Donating is the key word. The nonprofits, donating, helping the artists, you know, patrons of the arts to support these artists, because these institutions don't care about us, and it's showing.
So with that, how do you feel that the city of Atlanta is responding to your work at this point? Because you've exhibited in quite a few places and it's been receptive, but even in this climate, how do you feel about it?
I get a lot of love here. I'm not gonna lie. I like the city likes me, you know. I'll keep showing here as long as the spaces are open, and you know, the galleries are great here. There's a lot of brand new galleries. I'm excited to see them grow. Me and Fahama were talking about One Contemporary. Like, it's a good space. I honestly can't wait to see how they grow and evolve. And just supporting, just like, I know they support me and I support them. I'm gonna continue to do it. But yeah, I got no beef with the city.
So can you share any work that you are currently working on for upcoming exhibits?
So I actually have a solo exhibition next month. It is called I'm Just Living Some Life, okay? And that's life, okay? I'm just trying to live. And it's just like a storybook of what we all been going through for the last 5 years since the pandemic. Just about growth and within ourselves and our communities, spiritually, like emotionally, mentally, like being okay with not being okay. I think we need to normalize it a little bit more. Having empathy is in there, talking about just like picking your own journey in the spiritual realm of things, you know, what resonates with you, finding love, you know, just like regular stuff, and existing and being cool, just doing that, vibing. Another thing I'm working on is the public art. You know, we spoke on the mural. and just a few museum exhibitions that'll be coming up. That'll be traveling all of Georgia later this year, because next year is the year of textile, which I'm excited about, and just showing outside of Atlanta too.
Great, wonderful. So do you have any advice for other emerging artists or artists that at this point are trying to at least get to the point that you're at currently?
Like I said before, just being yourself. I feel like that's just like the best advice. Taking time to actually invest and do research. I really research. Like, I really want people to take the time to, like, what are you actually creating? What is your materials? Have you actually mastered them? Because if you haven't, get into the lab and go to work. And taking that time also to be in your studio. That's like your sacred space. That's your place where you go to do whatever you need to do. Whether you're just sketching, creating the piece, you know, looking into what your materials are, getting better, you know, investing in your tools also, because that's going to make a big difference. And yeah, just being yourself. That's like my two things. Be in that studio and be yourself, and those opportunities will come.
Great. Thank you so much for answering my questions. This has been a great conversation. I think we have time to open it up for questions.
Thank you guys so much for that conversation. It was really, really good to hear a lot of the backstory, and even just to have the moment of reflection around where we are from an arts community perspective and the support we thought we may have had. But Honey, you mentioned your upcoming solo show. I was just wondering if you could offer dates and the location.
Yes, it is April 18th, 6 to 9, and it'll be at Impossible Currency Gallery. It is located in Buckhead Village.
Thank you. Always great to see both of you speaking. This is in these times, like you said, after the gold rush, we're in desperate need of these kind of conversations. But also, I wanted to talk to you because you are from Ohio, the Buckeye State.
You know, Midwest Biz.
Heart of it all.
You already know.
City of the Funk.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to you about gathering color and the way that you use color and the way that you use images and its relationship to living in Ohio versus being in Atlanta, like that different type of energy that comes from growing up in Ohio versus here, and how you gather the colors from there and adapt them here.
Oh, I've never had that question before. I think it's because of growing up with all four seasons. Like, literally, yeah, I never thought about that. Growing up with all four seasons, especially like with my mom's garden growing up, she had like all these different types of flowers. We had so many different trees, everything. So I got to see all types of different colors around me growing up. I'll be in the yard sketching like her flowers that she'll decide to like plant instead of buying us like whatever. she'll invest in that garden every dollar. And it was so cool just witnessing that. And I think just like being at different fabric stores growing up too, and just seeing the different colors and patterns really inspired me. I think it carried over into this realm of things. And then I like bright colors. You know, you see it in my artwork all the time. I'm not afraid to do a neon with a muted tone, and somehow it works, you know, at the end of the day. But I think growing up in Ohio really influenced a lot of it. Being by nature, seeing all four seasons, and being by the lake. I know like the lake isn't as inspiring because it's polluted, but I take that little bit of green that's on top and, you know, use it as inspiration.
So I have, I think, really kind of two questions. One, you talked about, you know, near the end of your military career, starting to make art, but was that the beginning of making for you at that time, or were you making before that and you just kind of began to take it more serious at that point? And then the second question is more simple, like what the hell is punch needle?
Okay. So I was always painting. I actually liked doing watercolor a lot as a kid, and drawing and sketching. And, you know, I just fell out of love with it. I was being weird and decided not to do my path, you know, because that happens. Sometimes we get a little weird and we go off what we're supposed to be doing. And when I started getting depressed and weird in the military towards the end of the term, I just went back to the place where I was actually happy, and that was creating. And I felt safe doing that. And then punch needle is a singular needle. You can look it up on Google right now, what a punch needle actually looks like. But it is a tool where I can thread yarn and then I punch it through fabric individually in what's called tufting fabric. You might see it on Instagram. People are making these rugs and stuff. It's called tufting. But for me, and it's also monk's cloth as well. It's a secondary fabric you can use to do punch needle in. But I just do square by square. Oh, no. It's me. One by one. It's a long time. Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
So we've talked a bit in this conversation, describing Atlanta a bit as a city of emerging artists, and that's something that you've said in the past as well, Honey. Can you break down for this audience, like, what is an emerging artist? What does that mean? And what is that spectrum of starting as an emerging artist, and then when do you become an established artist? Like, what are the distinctions between those roles and those levels?
Right. This is an example right here, established, right here. Emerging is really like, I put it in the year span. Like, I know you're not supposed to do this because you've been emerging for like a minute if you want to or not, or like however your trajectory is. But for me, it's like your first 10 years, really. Like, you're emerging, you're getting to know yourself, you're getting to know your actual craft, your medium of choices. You're getting to know what you feel comfortable talking about, your style, you know, like whatever you're desiring to do, you're getting comfortable, you're getting the rhythm of it. I feel like you don't really get to like a mid-level career till like after a decade, you know, to be honest. And then mastery, I feel like even like as an established artist, it's like you're 30 deep in the game, you know, and you know about this. You've been around the block, you've done exhibits, you have been in the institutional settings, you have been mentored, you are a mentor at some point. You know, you're giving back to your community and the community's giving back to you. And like in that sort is like when I feel like you are established.
Hi, my major in college was textile, so I love seeing more fiber artists and whatnot really come about. But I did have a question. You mentioned networking being one of the difficult parts. How has social media kind of influenced how you present your art, or if it has at all? And especially when you spoke about kind of DEI initiatives and things like that are also being kind of reflected in social media. How do you feel like that might play into your networking there, just, you know, being in a digital space with something that's very tactile like fiber?
You know, I really don't like social media, and I don't like posting like my art a lot. I really just post myself, and people don't like that. But I take the initiative to like post probably like every few months, like of a piece that's completed or an exhibit, and give like a mini artist statement for the piece. I write for every piece. People call me crazy for doing that, but I feel like every piece has a story to tell on its own, not just in this body of work or in this series. So when I take it to social media, I put like a little artist statement with it. I might even speak about the piece as well, post it, try to get the best images I can, because textile doesn't really relate well on a lot of platforms. It's kind of annoying, but I make it work, you know. And as far as the DEI incentives, I feel like we're just supporting each other. You know, that's the best way we're going to get through all this, especially during this administration, y'all. we all we got. So we gotta make it work.
So earlier you mentioned something about like your style, and I feel like as artists sometimes we can get pigeonholed into like having a certain type of style. So I wanted to know if you've ever experienced that, and if so, like how do you mitigate that to just like not giving a fuck and creating whatever you want?
So I'm gonna give it like a one sentence, one offer. I've never gave a fuck. Um, my style really is just like our lifestyles, you know. I switch up like maybe the background in the medium, like sometimes I paint on wood or make a quilt, you know, so on there. I'm not really a fan of canvas ever, so you'll never see me put a piece on there. But my style is really just our lifestyles. I guess the blue skin tone would be my style. And that's how you can detect that it's me, because I will never do another color. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Ohio boy myself, so I understand it. 4 seasons and all that completely.
Let's go.
But I was wanting to ask, just speaking about the idea that you're completing public works, but you're also completing very personal works in your studio. Can you talk about your kind of mental setup between speaking to the public versus speaking through your own work? I mean, to yourself first and then to the public. And then you also said something about the year of textile. Is that something that you're manifesting, or is that something that's actually happening?
Oh, that's happening. Okay.
Oh, it is.
You better tell them. Yeah, it's next year. It's actually a thing that's happening. A lot of museums and different institutions are gathering a lot of us textile artists up and putting us in all these group exhibitions. The High Museum is going to be doing a large showing of quilts next year. They're looking for people. They better get ADAMA. But as far as public art and then my artwork, it's 2 different realms. When it comes to my work, it's more personal. It's more about our lives. When it comes to public art, it is about what is this community looking for? What do they need? You know, what is going on? Because public art transforms a community drastically, especially if there isn't any there. So it's just like with South Fulton, like with them, they're like, oh, this is about us. We need our story told, what we want. You know, how does it feel right now? How do we want it to feel? So you're really serving the people. You're not serving what you like do for yourself in your studio or for a gallery exhibit or a museum, whatever you're doing. You know, it's for the people. It's not for you.
Hello.
Hey.
You mentioned Joanne's a lot, and I also love Joanne's, and I've been so sad about it.
So sad. I'm telling you.
So I wanted to ask if you have any like local shops or any like maybe Black-owned specific textile shops that you like around Atlanta as Joanne's alternatives.
Man, I'm gonna pour one out for Joanne's the last day. Yes, there's actually a farm. It's 40 minutes outside of Atlanta. I don't know if you feel like driving, but there's this place. It's called High Hog, and they actually make the yarn there. I've been talking to the owner for the last couple of weeks. He wants me to come out, and I'm gonna go out. I don't really like driving. We all know that, and I'm gonna go out there. You know, yeah, and you know. Go over there and check it out and support them too, because their mission is really like teaching people how to dye fabrics, yarns, and like doing it organically, not no like chemical dyes or anything. So, and it's a good business to support, you know, just going on their farm. They also make homemade honey there. They have a whole bee farm. You can learn how to beekeep, all that stuff. They got acres. So I recommend everybody go out there at some point this spring and summer and support them, because they do need it, because they have been threatened by people of trying to shut them down, which I don't like, because like, why are you doing that? That's weird, you know, but go out there, support, go learn how to make some yarn from scratch. You know, they'll teach you how to harvest it, make it, dye it, whatever you feel in your heart's desire.
I have the mic here.
Let's go.
You looked over there. I was like, I don't know. Okay, so how do you get artist block, and how do you deal with it if you get it? Like, how do you fix it, cure it?
Listen, that shit happens. And it happens hard. I was actually in a funk. I wouldn't say a block, but a funk from August to like January. I was on autopilot, just finishing my deadlines of my obligations I already had in commissions and stuff. But I really wasn't making nothing. It was mainly because of like too many fires that happened in my own career. I'm happy I made it through with the Mint tragedy and then the UTA tragedy all at the same damn time. So I didn't really feel like creating. I didn't. People who are my close circle, they knew how I was feeling. And I didn't even want to go to the studio, but you got to go because you're paying rent. And you got to make it feel like you're doing something, you know. But how I got through it was just realizing, you know what? Why stay there? Why stay in that space for a minute? And why not like do what I really love doing? And I started reading more, watching films. I went outside a lot, and dancing and having fun with my friends. And I started getting inspired again. And it made me want to create. So sometimes you just gotta do some random stuff. Go to the park, go dance, go to MJQ, go do something, you know, go write, go pray, do what you need to do. Give yourself grace and time too. Like that's one thing I feel like a lot of us, we punish ourselves for like not being creative all the time. And that's just ignorant, you know. Be sad. Don't take a break, you know, like do what you need to do because it's a fluid thing. It's in you. It's your purpose. It drives you. You know, it's okay to take a break once in a while, not punish yourself or feel weird for like doing that. You know, so yeah, that's my key advice. Go have some fun, girl. Yeah.
I'm happy she asked that question because it's kind of a segue into mine and you've kind of answered it. Is there like a constant for you as you're creating art? Is it always music? Are you painting with nature in front of you? Like, what does that look like? What does your creative process look like in addition to the writing that you do? And then a second question, who would you thank for anything in your life for bringing you this far? Like, who is the person that you would love to thank?
Ooh. Right, that's heavy. I like to go outside. You know, I know I said it too, go to your studio, but I'd be outside. I'm not gonna lie. If outside was a person, it would be me down the nose. I'd be everywhere. Just getting lit or just hanging out with my friends or just like being at home, FaceTime with my family. And like, that's who inspires me. And then I'll go to the studio. You know, we have a nice window now, so I look outside there. But yeah, outside being around people and like community, and that's how I get inspired for like just my pieces too, is because I'm experiencing life. You're supposed to do that as an artist. You're supposed to be like with your community and having fun and, you know, seeing what stories you really talk about. Like as a figurative artist, like seeing the body move like in the natural spaces, that helps a lot. And seeing like how would I want somebody to sit or pose, you know, like a Sohei, the way she's sitting, I would paint that, you know, okay. And, you know, just being in front of everybody, like what does a crowd look like? You know, what does it feel like? You know, what's the energy? And like being around people helps with that process. And who I want to thank, he ain't here no more. But I'll shout out my uncle T. He's the main reason I'm here doing what I'm doing.
If you could think about in the next 50 years what the Black Atlanta art scene would be, what would it be for you in 50 years? Paint the tapestry, make the texture piece.
Okay. 50 years deep. I feel like we will be in a space where there's more museums for us. I do see that happening, like ADAMA having its own space. We'll probably have 3 more museums because I know we got the High. That's cool. You know, not talking shit or nothing, but like we need more spaces, you know, dedicated and committed to telling our stories, especially like the contemporary, like young artists that are coming up now, like Darius Gad and Spelman, Clarke, you know, everybody, like they're coming up in the next 50 years. They're going to need more space. So I feel like that's what's going to be happening, a large investment in those type of things. The gallery scene, I feel like, is going to be growing. I'm praying that the collector scene grows too, you know, because in order to sustain, in order to sustain these artists and having them stay, we have to have the art economy flowing. Because right now it's like it's moving, but it's not moving, you know. It's a little stagnant. But I think in the next 50 years, like we will see it evolving more, especially with the talent that is here. Like nobody wants to leave Atlanta for real. But it's just like if we aren't circulating enough, it's not gonna persuade people to stay because this is how we're feeding ourselves, our families, are investing back into ourselves as artists. You know, my bills don't get paid off of just, you know, artwork sitting in the crib or the studio. You know, it has to circulate. And yeah, I think in the next 50 years, we'll see more institutions, more collectors, the gallery scene more. I do feel like Atlanta Art Week and the art fair, it will help in this process too. But they have to want to actually be a part of this community as well. Like, that's one thing I really want those two entities, especially the art fair, because it's brand new. You know, I want them to really want to be a part of Atlanta's community and actually be involved. Yeah.
I have documented the artists and the art scene for the last 50 years in Atlanta. All right. So what you're seeing here today, for instance, if you look over in the Peter Street area, in 1982, I opened a studio there, a studio gallery, and there was nothing in that whole Castleberry area at that time when I opened that studio. Me and a couple of my mentees and pigeons through that whole area where all of those galleries are now. All right, and Walker Street. All right, there was nothing there at that time. So for the people who are worrying about the next 50 years, look back on the last 50 years. Okay.
I love that.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you've presented today. So my question kind of piggybacks off what where he left off on that is what do you think of the role of art writing or art criticism or the artist writing and sharing their writings about their art and other people into the infusing that into the ecosystem that we need to continue?
I think we need more of it, to be honest. I wish we had some more art critics in Atlanta and reporting live from group showings or the museums and we need it, to be honest, more than ever, because I feel like we're just, you know, doing our own thing. And it's just like, no, we need the writers. They need to come back, bring writing back. Honestly, I do agree. Like artists, a lot of us do write. We just don't talk about it, about like what we're creating. And I feel like it'd be cool if we all just like did a group exhibit, just like our notes on our practice, like about what's inspiring us, or like in our sketchbooks. Because I know I'm not the only one who writes in their sketchbook. Fahana. You know, a lot of us do a lot of writing as a part of the process. So sharing that would be really cool. But yeah, bring writing back. Tell your friends who write. Tell them to start coming to these shows. You know, get the critics. We need that.
Hello. First time, long time. My main question is, because of everything that happened with the Mint Gallery, it kind of forced you to be a community leader. It may have been a reluctant role in some ways, but you definitely took on the responsibilities of helping out the artist community in that way. What did you learn from that? And then also, how do you feel like you'll continue to grow into that as you continue to weave and connect the different art communities of Atlanta?
So during that time, I don't know if y'all know, but Mint ain't here no more. You know, it's a sad thing that happened. And during that time, I did not want to lead nothing. I just wanted to just lay on the ground and take the L, you know, because we all had to move out in less than 8 days, but it was just bullshit. And in me, I was just like, I don't like this. This is dirty. You know, the way y'all treated us, 8 days to move out, I'm not liking this at all. And it just had a fire in me that I just would not let go. And so I just started making phone calls and reaching out to the community and seeing how can we rebuild or at least help the artist out, you know? And that came from doing research. What did everybody need? You know, we don't have any money. We have to move out in 8 days. We have no studios. We have nothing. And even like, if you think about even like a residential move out, think about an art move out. Okay, I'm artistically homeless right now. My shit is gonna be in the parking lots in 9 days. And I just started making phone calls, like I said, Tila Studios, OCA, the Goat Farm. Shout out to the Goat Farm. they came through. Echo Studios, everybody. We started voicing, and then I'll call her to like my friends like Jasmine Williams. You know, her and Sierra created the solidarity letter for us on our behalf, and that blew up and started its own thing. And with that, we were able to come together as a community for real. Nobody liked what was going on, how everybody was being treated. People lost, you know, space to create their bodies of work in for the next exhibits, all that, and everybody was pissed, including me. And we came together and we made it work. You know, people provided U-Hauls like Black Art in America. They made sure we got our shit up out of there perfectly. And I did not want to be a leader at all or any of that, but I had enough mental capacity to do it and enough energy to do it. And I'm not mad that I did it. And then from there, we noticed that more nonprofits are suffering as well. And why is nobody talking? We're not getting as much funding. You know, we all know the economy is doing the economy thing right now, but nobody's talking about it. These nonprofits are suffering. And they're going to be closing down one by one if we don't start coming together. So the town hall happened, and it resulted in us getting some good notes. And that's what it was really for, is gathering notes to give to OCA, the Office of Cultural Affairs, give it to the mayor's office, because he made a promise to help the art community. I'm still, yep, he got a re-election, y'all. Tell him that the art community is still waiting for that extra hand that he said he was going to give out. So those notes went there and other places, and it did do something. And people know now that the art community is not doing well in the nonprofit spaces, and we need to start helping them. So yeah, long answer to your question, but I think we got it. Yeah.
Hi. Earlier you had mentioned like how there's a lot of emerging like young artists and stuff, especially coming out of like Atlanta colleges. I was just wondering kind of like what you notice about the differences in like young artists now and their, I guess, the storyline of the art they create. And then also you mentioned how we're going to need basically like a lot more galleries, a lot more spaces for us. And I was wondering how, or what do you think the city like needs, not only physically, but like mentally to accommodate?
Mentally, I want people to be open to emerging artist voices, because you're just starting, you're finding your voice. So people have an open mind to want to invest in that, you know, because you're going to be developing these next 10 years outside of school, because now you are out of the classroom and you're living life and you're in your studio doing your practice. You need people who are going to be open to investing in your journey. So that's the one thing mentally I would like a lot of collectors and people who are supporting the artists is I feel like we need to have that just openness, period. As far as spaces and stuff go, I feel like we're pretty good on spaces. There's a lot of different like tiers of galleries for emerging artists to like explore. Rather you're just like out the gate trying it out with your career. There's plenty of galleries, like at least 6 in the area that can help you with that and like helping you shape as an artist, putting in group exhibits with other emerging artists and probably mid-level career artists as well. There is programming here also that helps with that too. Like the bakery is a great space to get with. You know, they help a lot of emerging artists out and just their paths. I've shown them one time, probably doing it in the future as well. You know, it doesn't really matter. I'll still come back. I'll spin the block. And I think you should too. Like even when you are growing as an artist and you are feeling like you are developed, spin the block sometimes on these spaces and give back. You know, even being a young artist with an established artist, that helps a lot, you know, and getting to know them if they do come to the openings to their art talks. And it's great for the CV as well. Like you're with these other artists too, you know.
All right. Let's have a hand again for Honey and Clarke. And before I get into my song and dance, I wanted to ask you, Clarke, if you wanted to just mention anything about what's happening at Clarke with the museum there for our audience here, because it would be great to have them come and support the work you're doing as well.
Thank you. Yes, so currently we have 2 exhibitions that are up. Like mentioned before, Rediscovery is one. It's a small exhibition for our permanent collection, and Innervisions, which is an exhibition co-curated with Jamele Wright, who is here, specifically around Black abstraction, juxtaposing pioneering abstraction artists with more contemporary artists, and a few of them are local to our Atlanta community. So we will have the exhibit open through May 3rd. So we're open Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 4. And we do have a couple of Saturday dates that were open. We just had one yesterday. We'll have another one April 12th. We'll be having a collector's salon then, and then May 3rd, Saturday will be our last day. So please come out and see us.
Thank you. So once again, y'all got to do better than that real tepid, watered down clap. Please put your hands together. This was a really great conversation, and I want to build off something that you were saying, Honey, around how it's imperative that as a community we rally together to support the organizations that are doing the work to amplify the voices, the work, and the efforts of Black artists to tell our stories. You know, I think it's one thing for us to, you know, apply for the grants and, you know, reach out to organizations for their support. But as is evidence, again, in all of the things that we're seeing now, how we come together for ourselves is way more important than going out and asking for somebody to support us, right? And so at ADAMA, we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to amplifying the voices of African diaspora artists through both exhibitions, but also through conversations like this. And you can support us right now. You can use a QR code to make a donation. All of our programs and events are always free because we want to create greater accessibility to the arts for our community. And rather than putting these offerings behind a paywall, we want to create an open space for our community to be able to engage with us. Again, our exhibition Light Work is open. We'll be open for the next 30 minutes or so, and encourage you all to please come inside and take a look and experience the work of Curtis Patterson and Hassani Salehi. But to also, again, continue to engage with ADAMA. We will have our next ADAMA Salon in about 2 weeks. And we hope that you will come back for another riveting conversation like this one and continue to support our programs and exhibitions and the whole like. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate you being here, and clap for yourselves because y'all look good. I don't think they really like themselves based on that. Y'all can't see what I see. Y'all look good. Y'all need to make some noise. All right, thank you.